Hey everybody, it's your friend Philtastic Phil here. Welcome you to a brand new video, and today we're going to talk about the X-Men. Hey everybody, like many of our fellow collectors, I'm a huge fan of the X-Men. And since Jonathan Hickman took the titles over with the House of 10 and Power 10 events back in 2019, the entire line has just been reinvigorated. New stories, new characters, and new titles. And more new titles. And more new titles after that. Being an X-Men fan right now can get pretty expensive. In this multi-part video series, I'm going to give you my take on the current slate of X titles, 13 in all. I should note that I don't go to my LCS every single week, as some of you may know. So I might be an issue or two or behind. And of course, there's going to be plenty of spoilers in this video. So if you haven't read some of these titles, I've sectioned them off so that you can skip through the titles if you're intending to read them but just haven't gotten around to it yet. Well, let's go ahead and get started. Okay, so I have XMen Legends #1 here. This is a brand new series. This is the only issue of the series I have. If you're not familiar with this series, the intention is to allow prior creative teams to go back and finish the subplots and storylines that they began that maybe just didn't end the way that they wanted to. This first issue is written by Fabian Nicieza, who wrote most of Uncanny X-Men throughout the 90s, also credited with co-creating Deadpool. And this is supposed to cover the mystery of the third Summers brother. Now, the third Summers brother in canon, let's say, was introduced by Ed Brubaker during the Deadly Genesis series. His name is Vulcan, also known as Gabriel Summers. But Nicieza originally wanted to have this character pop up, Extreme, as the third Summers brother. I have to admit, I was kind of surprised when they said this is the debut intriguing story we're going to handle, because I was never really intrigued by this storyline myself. I remember the issue of Uncanny X-Men where Extreme appeared, and it definitely wasn't one of my favorites. The character of Extreme himself, I think, is forgettable. Kind of a weird power. He can make people's blood boil, literally, and he has these little small kind of throwing knives. But all in all, I do have to say the story itself did give me a little bit more of an appreciation for him. I'm not an Extreme fan. I still regard him like the Poochie character on The Simpsons. But it was okay. This is a fan service issue, and it's a fan service series. Brett Booth really captures that 90s X-Men art style. Again, this isn't going to change your opinion on Extreme, but it's certainly worth checking out. I'm looking forward to the remainder of the series. From what I understand, I know Peter David's coming on to do some X Factor work, as well as Louise Simonson. So what's my final verdict on X-Men Legends? It's simply too early to tell. Although it was really well done, and I certainly enjoyed the nostalgia, and I'm looking forward to some of the future stories, I'm not sure that I can really justify the cost on this title every month. For now, I'm all in. Let's just see how it goes and see if it sticks around in my pull list. Next up, we've got Cable, issues 7 and 8. Written by Jerry Dugan, art by Phil Noto. Noto, as I said earlier, is one of my favorite artists. And this doesn't disappoint art-wise. I will say I was kind of surprised this was the only title that addressed the funeral, I guess you could say. I shouldn't say the only title, but here they talk about the death of Gorgon. He died during Swords of X, or X of Swords. And one of the... see, here's the kind of weird thing with Noto. Being that his art is so great, and I don't know if it's fair enough to blame Noto or not, but all of his stories that I've read, and this was notorious of his Black Widow run, were short reads. But they were enjoyable nonetheless, and I think because of his artwork. That being said, in this issue in particular, I didn't really feel any drama. If you saw on the prior page, Rachel Summers, Prestige, whatever she's going by now, just popped up, or Rachel Summers, not Rachel Gray, to help Cable rescue these children. Strife was in there. I thought that was an interesting addition. All in all, I like the dynamic between Cyclops and Cable. I didn't at first, but he grew on me. Um, Both issues are good. The only complaint I have about this is in the climax of number 8, I kind of get lost here too. I don't know if this is our Cable or one of the clone Cables. Domino apparently knows, or she's using her lucky powers. I'll say this, I think this was the best demonstration of Domino's powers I've ever seen in any comic. She's just standing there, and a small meteorite that nobody knew was coming just busts the last Cable clone in the head. In this series, they have been having a couple back stories of old Cable. I guess we'll call him Old Man Cable. And that's been pretty good, too. Enjoyable. I'm interested in seeing where it's going. This title for me is a buy. That being said, I know that it is ending in, I think, just issue number 10 or issue number 12. But I would say if you've been on the fence about Cable, pick it up. Next up, another great title, Hellions. This is one that I was kind of on the fence with. It was announced after the first iteration of X titles hit. That being said, I have to say they totally make me a fan on this. This is another definite pickup, and this also is coming out of the X of Swords, Krakoa and Arako story here, where even though Wild Child and Orphan and Nanny died on the in Krakoa and could not be resurrected, they did it anyway, and as a result, these characters are forever changed. The artwork is stellar. The writing is the real star here, and they again incorporate old and new. You have the older villains and whatnot. Here you have Cameron Hodge. The story itself in it is just so entertaining. It's really, in my opinion, Marvel's answer to the Suicide Squad. This whole exchange between Sinister and Mastermind I thought was done well. Nanny and Orphan, again, I wasn't really well versed in these characters prior to this, but I have to say they really are creepy in a good way. And again, this is another title where they successfully tied in some of the stuff from the Giant Size X-Men one-shots from a couple months back into this, where you have Lady Mastermind making her appearance as the leverage that Arcade is using. Again, Arcade, great villain. He's always kind of goofy, but here he comes off almost like a Saw type of character. What was the guy's name from Saw? Jigsaw, I think. But I'm curious and anxious to see where this story goes. The team of Steven Segovia and Zeb Wells do a fantastic job with this title. The characters are creepy but yet engaging. If you don't have this on your pull list yet, I encourage you to add it today. Okay, so this next comic is X-Men Demon Days #1. I went for the Mark Brooks variant. I really enjoy Mark Brooks' work. And I have to say, to be honest with you, when I first heard about this series, I was not going to go for it. Just wasn't a fan of Peach Momoko's pencils, just from what I saw. I don't really have a whole lot of experience with her work. Really what sold it for me, I watched the preview video on Marvel.com, and it really turned me around because I liked her style a little bit more just watching that. They did kind of a little motion comic, and that really added to it. And to be honest with you, I'm very happy I picked up this title. I was very surprised. Her style, again, is all in its own. These characters do not look like anything you've seen in the X-Men books before. And, look, that's a good thing. it's good to be different. What I was really kind of surprised with is that they incorporated elements of different elements of the Marvel Universe, like Venom is a giant snake demon. Psylocke is done well. These orc things are kind of like Hulks, from what I understand. Her wolf is, which is not in this scene, but her wolf is an homage to Wolverine. And I do like when they're able to blend comic books with either historical dramas or historical stories. Although this isn't a piece of Japanese history per se, it is based on, from what I understand, Japanese literature and Japanese legend. And really, this is a great kind of blending of the two, X-Men and legendary kind of fiction like that. Overall, I'm very happy I picked this up. I'm definitely going to be picking up the next installment. Looking forward to it eagerly. If you're interested in historical-based comics, I highly recommend Britannia, published by Valiant Comics and written by Peter Milligan. The groundbreaking classic Moz, written and drawn by Art Spiegelman. X-Men Magneto Testament, written by Greg Pak and Carmine Di Giandomenico. And Facts from Sarajevo, from the late great Joe Kubert. Thank you again for checking out this video. Hope you enjoyed it. If you do, please go ahead and throw me a like, share this content, leave a comment, and if you haven't done so already, subscribe to this channel. Should you need to reach me, you can do so by going to any of these Instagram pages. Thanks again for watching. Peace, love, and comics.